This one comes in from DC. DC wrote, many years ago, my family lived in a house in Aurora. When I was about 9, we had an incident. Middle of the night, my younger sister, who was 7, her and I shared a room, by the way. We were woken up by the sound of heavy knocking on our door. We yelled to come in, thinking it was either our mom or dad. Nothing happened. The door didn't open. About 20 seconds later, I kid you not, as we were about to fall back asleep, heavy knocking again, this time from our closet. My sister and I looked at each other, screamed. Both parents ran into our room. After investigating, they found nothing. We slept with them the rest of the night. About a week later, same time of night, the knocking happened again, but not on the door to start, on the closet. I got up, walked to the sound. I was trying to protect my little sister, who was silently crying. God, that's so sad to think about. I slid the door open. Nothing was there. I turned to tell her that it must have been our imagination. Then, boom, the closet door slammed shut. Then we swear we heard something say, out. After this, we were too scared to sleep in our own room. Thankfully, our parents were understanding. My dad got a job, thankfully, in the Broomfield area just by coincidence. So we decided to move to avoid the commute and to get out of the house. And whatever the heck that was, the new house had no issues. That's crazy. Crazy. That's interesting. I don't. Now, that being said, he said he was 9 and 7. I mean, I don't know. I would like to say that it was just your imaginations, but I mean, you guys are pretty old at that time. And for it to slam shut behind you, that's pretty fucking wild. And it said, out. Out, motherfucker. Could you imagine? A diva ghost would be awesome. Sorry, I know that scared the shit out of you, DC. But I'm just thinking, we were talking about naked ghosts the other day. A diva ghost would be awesome too. Oh shit. Oh man, could you imagine that? Oh my god, my head is spinning right now. I'm just starting to think of like, what would a diva ghost do? Like, you're sitting there and you don't use a coaster, and you put your glass of whatever on the table, and you just hear this, oh hell no. You're like, wait, what the fuck was that? That would be hilarious. Sorry. What if, like, you're getting naked, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and you just heard laughing, like, that's so sad. And you're like, what? There's a ghost making fun of my penis? What the shit? What the shit, man? That being said, DC, I don't know. That sounds freaky, dude. That sounds freaky. Dude, you're lucky. What are the odds? Like, your dad got a job that was north of where you were at, so it just made more sense to move, right? Like, that's a point where, like, if you got a job at another company, but it was, only like a 10-minute commute difference, you're probably going to stay at that house. But if it's just like, no, that's like, that could be like an hour, depending on what time he had to go to work. It could be more. And you're like, you know what? No, fuck it. We're leaving. We're moving somewhere else. That's crazy. Thanks for sending that in, DC. Ken, no, not that Ken. That's what he wrote. That's what he wrote. Are you meaning this?
Right, as always.
Okay, Ken, I like it. I like your style, Ken. I like it. Ken wrote in, this happened last week. Nice. Says, I was cleaning up an older building where I keep tools and other miscellaneous items. I was in there by myself. My wife was at the store. About an hour into cleaning, I heard footsteps. Thought it was my wife, but seemed too heavy thinking about it in hindsight. I heard her voice. "What you doing?" is what she said. I responded with something like, "Probably gonna toss this." I turned to look at her. Nobody was there. I start calling out to her. Nothing. I call her cell, thinking that she maybe left the building and is somewhere else. I'm guessing is what he's talking about. No kidding. She was still at the store. What the hell was that, DeHuff? Taco kisses, Ken. No, not that Ken. Taco kisses. Um, yeah, that's creepy. I've heard that a lot. It's happened to me. I'll tell you that story in a second, where something mimics the voice of someone that you're close to. That's in all honesty, of just about everything that I've experienced. That one kind of fucks with your head. That one's just twisted, and I don't like that. Don't like that. But he didn't add anything else to it, so I'm wondering if it's just like that must have been an isolated incident, and it was a simple, "What you doing?" Looking at this, and he was having a conversation with it. That's fucked up. So fucked up. And he turned to look at her, and she was gone, or it wasn't even there. That's trippy. That's trippy. I don't like it. I don't know. Ken, respond if you think about it. If there's anything else that happened, and keep us posted, because I think that's wild to think about. Has any of that stuff? Listen, we can go beyond Halloween. I know we're doing this Halloween special, but if you guys have stories like this, please let them know. I was kind of late to the program this year on reaching out, trying to get stories from you guys, and that's on me, not you guys. So if you guys have something and you want to share it like these guys did, please let me know. DeHuffPodcast@gmail.com or at DeHuffPodcast on social. So to share the similar story to the Ken one, because I've heard of that stuff a lot. Um, Ken, and you guys, there was one time my I had just come home from working the morning shift at the radio station. So I get home right around, I want to say it was like 1 o'clock. And this is before we had kids, but we had, I want to say, one or two dogs at the time. And I've shared this story before, but the point is, I come home and I thought my wife was at work. And at the time, she didn't work from home because it was pre-COVID and all this stuff. And again, no kids at the time. So I'm downstairs. I'm, I made myself some lunch and I go to walk over to do something near the stairs. And I hear, "Hey, babe." That's what my wife says to me all the time. "Hey, babe." Clear as day. Clear as day. And I remember going, "Hey, I didn't realize you were home. Did I miss you coming in?" Silence. And I walk up the stairs to where I heard her voice. Nothing. I go and switch through all the different um, rooms up there, bathroom, everything. "You in the shitter?" Ha! No, damn. Um, so I go up there and nothing. I can't. She's not there. Wasn't her. I go to the garage to look. I was like, okay, what the fuck? Is her car even here? Go in there, look. Her car's not there. I text her. She's at work. She's not even in the building, in the house, I should say. Can't explain it. Can't explain it. Now, that voice came from a certain area of our house where my wife's office is now. At the time, they were essentially just miscellaneous bedrooms. One was kind of a storage, one was kind of a wishful thinking. Hopefully, we'll have a baby someday. That was going to be the nursery type of thing. There's two rooms over there. So, adding on to that area of the house, I don't know the time frame between these two incidents. And I honestly can't tell you which one happened first, just to be clear. But there was another incident in that area where my dog at the time, his name was Cole, was a beautiful black lab, and I hear him growling, and he's at the top of the stairs, and he's slowly, like he's stalking something, like he is ready to fucking rip some throat, and he is slowly walking up the stairs and turning the corner to go towards those rooms, whatever's over there. Same place I had heard the voice. So he's up there, and his is that hackles for their hairs up. That's what he had going on. He had his hackles up. He was something was freaking him out, and I'm just like locked in on the dog, watching him, and I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And me being dumb, I go, Cole, what do you see? Like I should have looked a little bit more, investigated more of what he was staring at instead of just like, hey, do you speak English, doggy? What you say? And sure enough, I do that, and he looks at me and then looks back, and then just complete relief. Like whatever he had seen was gone. And it was, you could see and he was tense prior to me saying something. Then he looks at me, then looks back, and then everything was just like, oh shit, it was gone. It's gone. And then he wags his tail, comes over and licks me in the face. And it was just like he was scared. Can't explain it. No freaking idea what that was. So Ken, yeah, I've been there. I've seen that or witnessed that myself. I think that's a disgusting thing. I have heard that not too long ago with my kids. The only thing I will chalk that up to is potentially them talking in their sleep. But where the sound came from kind of throws that off because it came from right outside my door in our bedroom. Hey, Dad. Or it was just like, Dad, like full of energy. But meanwhile, it was like 11 o'clock at night. Then I get up and nobody's there. My daughter's in her room. She's in a bunk bed, so it's harder for her to get up and down, whatever. That one fucking pisses me off. Don't be doing that. Not with my kids. That shit just drives me nuts. We've had a lot of weird things happen in this house. Not too long ago, it sounded like somebody was walking on our main floor. We have a basement, main floor, and then then upstairs, right? And I hear somebody walking on the main floor, and we got hardwood floors, and I'm like, shit. And it sounded like somebody that was of good size. And I'm like, fuck, I'm ready to fight. I told my wife, just lock the door behind me. So I go down there, drag my dog with me. I was like, come on, you go first. You go first. No, you go first. You're the dog. You got teeth. So I go down there, and I'm like, literally, as I turn the corner, guys, I'm in fighting stance. I'm like going back to when I, worked out with the guy that's the manager for Justin Guthrie, or I can never remember how to say his last name, but Luke Kadia. I was remembering like what he taught me how to do because he used to be in UFC fighter too. And I'm like sitting there going, I'm like, okay, I'm turning the corner. This is what I'm gonna, be ready. I got to be ready for this, and this. I am ready. I am ready. The sound was so legitimate. I was ready to fight, and I'm thinking, no mercy, no surrender, protect the family, kill if need be. That's the way I was looking at it, right? As you should. You're protecting your house. Turn around, nothing. Okay. Okay. I'm slowly turning the corner. Ready? Nothing. Go throughout the entire house. Nothing. I go back and check the camera that I have in the basement to see if my son had, been wandering around or anything like that. And I was checking the camera that we have on the main level too, see if he had been walking around there. Nothing. Nothing. Nobody. No fucking idea. But I swear to fucking God, and when I got down the steps to that little, you know, in between where it's I can never my brain's not functioning right now where it's like a transition, it's a flat piece, and then there's more steps that go down. When I'm at that point, I heard like somebody took a big step, like a creak. And that's what it sounds. And that's where I was just like, oh shit, this is real. And there was nothing, there was nobody there. Can't fucking explain it. There was a time my wife and I, before we had kids, it sounded like somebody threw like all our blankets off of the banister, but we go to look, nothing was there. We've had a lot of, and that's in that same area where I heard sound like somebody was walking. Couldn't explain that. That was fucking bizarre. There was one time my wife and I were in our room hanging out, talking, and it sounded like from the corner of the room that somebody ripped a nasty ass fart. One of the funniest fucking weird paranormal things I've ever witnessed. She looks at me and she's like, "That wasn't you." And I'm like, well, it wasn't you." And then we look and the none of the animals were in the room. And we're like, "That was a ghost fart." Like, that's hilarious. So the only thing we could think of, if you believe in ghosts, is that somebody we knew thought it would be funny to make a ghost fart. Fucking weird. Weird. There was a time I was doing dishes not too long ago, and my son still does it, but he'll try to scare me and he'll sneak up on you and just go, rah, right? And sometimes my wife does that. I'm doing dishes and all of a sudden I hear this, rah, right? Turn around, I'm like, oh, you got me, or you didn't get me, whatever I said. Nobody's there. I'm like, well, that's fucking weird. Then I look outside, is my wife and two kids were both outside, out front playing. I'm like, well, I don't know where the fuck that roar came from. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't. So, whatever. There was a time where uh, now sleep paralysis is an actual scientific thing. It's where your body doesn't fully wake up. There's a switch in your brain when you dream that paralyzes you so you don't start moving around in your dreams. Okay? There's a switch that essentially gets triggered. And sometimes what can happen is when you're really, really tired, those switches can be neglected to turn back on. So you wake up, but the switch, so you're stuck kind of in this limbo of dream and in awakeness. You can physically see things, you can see everything around you, but you can't fucking move. You can hardly even speak. And that happened to me, and it felt like there's this tremendous amount of pressure on my chest. And I thought I saw something in the corner coming towards me, and the pressure kept getting more and more and more intense. And I remember trying to scream out towards my wife to help me. And it's like, and I still remember the struggle of trying to get the vibration of my voice to actually start functioning properly. And I remember going, Randy, like that. And she's just like, what? Because it was like in the middle of the night. The more research I did on that's chalked up to exhaustion. And that's usually when you start talking to people that experience sleep paralysis, that's usually what that gets so I won't say that that was a paranormal experience. I refuse to, because I was severely exhausted at the time with my job. Um, the other thing that I've experienced is, let's see, did the voice from upstairs? Had to make notes. There was one time I was sitting on the bed, on the side of the bed. I'm sitting there, and then it felt like somebody literally sat down next to me, and there was a slight indention. But I'm sitting there going, was that indention there beforehand or not? And was that just the springs recoiling or something like that? So I didn't really want to say that that was anything that was a ghost or anything like that. Now, at our previous house, there was some very interesting things that happened. One of the funnier things was I was in the restroom because again, I worked early mornings. At the time I was a traffic reporter. So I come home in the middle of the day and I was probably going to go work at the fan later in the afternoon. Come home, use the restroom. It's just me and the dogs in the house. I have the door open. I'm pooping with the door open. Why not? Dogs need to see who's the master, huh? Who's the alpha? I'll poop in front of you. Don't care. Don't care. But I remember my dog Logan is out in the hallway and I'm using the restroom. Like I said, doors open. So the door opens towards me and there was a green hanger on the doorknob. I had been in there for like a minute. And then all of a sudden, the hanger starts swinging. It wasn't like I just got in and sat down and the hanger starts swinging because then you could justify that as, well, that's probably, you probably bumped it, didn't realize it. Or just from opening the door, you just didn't realize it. No, I had been sitting there for approximately a minute and it started moving to the point where Logan, my dog, sees this happening. He's out in the hallway, so he's approximately 3 feet away. I'm It's about just over an arm's length away for me if I were to grab the doorknob. So it was just out of reach. He looks at it and tilts his head, like cocks his head, like, what the hell am I looking at? And it's just going back and forth. And I remember saying, could you at least wait till I'm done going to the bathroom? I mean, what else am I supposed to say? I'm not going to freak out and not wipe my back end. I got to finish my business. I was a little irritated. Like you can't just give me some space. My goodness. What else are you guys peeking in on, you sickos? Huh? Huh? You like this? You like what you see? Is this fulfilling your fantasies, you sick ghosts? So that one was funny. Same house. I want to say there's multiple things, but the other thing that I remember was there was one morning I wake up in the middle of the night. And sometimes you just wake up and I'm just like wide awake. I'm sitting there thinking about work and whatever. And all of a sudden, my dog Cole was sleeping next to us on the floor to my right. And I hear it's clear as day. I couldn't tell you what she said, but it was like I'm guessing it was German. I don't really know, but it sounded like a little girl talking to me in German. I had been awake for a couple minutes, just sitting there, rolling around, what am I doing in life type of thing. And I'm like, where is this coming from? But it was at the foot of it was past our bed. It would have been like at the foot of the bed is where the sound was coming from, the voice. Couldn't tell you any little bit that she said. Then I look over at my dog and he's looking over at it like doing the cocked head thing. I go, I don't know what that bitch is saying, but shit, that's creepy. Right? That's fucking weird. Fucking weird. Can't explain it. No idea. Could I have been tripping? Maybe I was actually asleep and didn't realize it. Maybe your mind can play tricks on you. We lived in a house in Inglewood where the grandma, her name was Goldie. She passed away in the house. Years later, we're renting it. My mom and us 3 kids. This is after my dad passed away, before my mom met my stepdad. And we're living there, and we find out that the lady allegedly was still wandering the house. We had similar silverware as she did, but my mom kept it in a different drawer. And we would come in the mornings and the silverware would be moved to the other drawer. Allegedly, I was like 7 at the time. I'm taking my mom's word for it. So that was crazy. There was a time my brother and I lived in the basement, and on the other side of the wall of us was this little almost like a closet that was for the washer and dryer. And middle of the night, all of a sudden, we're sound asleep, and just imagine the sound of a washer and dryer, and imagine two fists just going, just pounding the shit out of it. Brother and I shoot up, run upstairs. 'Cause we're like, fuck that. I can't explain it. Nobody was running laundry at the time, so it's not like it was an on balance load or something. It was bizarre. Nobody was down there. It wasn't my sister being a bitch or anything like that. No, no. So can't explain it. I've played you audio in previous years of my dad when he was going to seminary school, and he had to give testimonial of anything that was spiritual or paranormal that had occurred in his life. And he shared a story of, I don't remember where they were, but there was a house that they lived in. And as they were trying to move, because they had a lot of experiences happening in the basement, and the dogs refused to go in the basement, uh, where they had some bags of, say clothes or whatever that were down there, and they could hear them being thrown around, and they go down there, and sure enough, all the bags have been just tossed around, but they don't know who did it. And there was a point at that house when they're trying to get things packed up to move, and he comes into the kitchen, and he had just been in the kitchen, turns around, comes back, and like all the cabinet doors, all the doors and drawers are just wide open. And he tried to duplicate it. He's like, is it something like with air pressure? He was a scientist. He had degrees in science and all these things. He was a smart dude. So if it didn't want to compute, it's like, no, that shouldn't be able to happen, not based on air pressure. And he would be trying to do certain things, and it wouldn't work. And he tried it and tried it. But prior to that, that moment scared him so much that he says it in the audio. I don't want to play it right now, but it scared him so much that it gave him diarrhea for a few days. It just shocked him. So as I go through all these stories, and Ken, not that Ken, as well as DC, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for chiming in. It makes you wonder, what would we do if we ever found out that ghosts were officially real? I don't I think it would cause a lot more stress in our lives if we knew 100% that ghosts were in fact real, because you'd have that paranoia of somebody who's always watching you, right? You might get that moment here and there where you think something's happening, but if you knew 100% that it was fact, I think it would cause more problems for us. And as much as I think it would be neat for us to fully have some evidence that says it is true, I think it would be more of a devastating impact on us mentally, than anything. And I just I just don't think that we should do that. And the hard part is, a lot of people will say, "Well, there's a lot of evidence online." Well, no, no, there's not. There might be. I should say this: there might be some spots here and there that are good, but the problem is there is so much fake stuff out there, especially now with technology advancing more and more. And the problem is there's a lot of people that try to capitalize in fake shit. Because of those, the to try to find what is fact is almost impossible, because there's so much junk out there, so much nonsense out there, that you really can't tell what's real. And even if you saw something that was real, you're going to judge it in a negative fashion, as you should, because you don't want to believe everything is a ghost just because it's on TikTok or whatever. And people can fake shit so easily. If you have a ghostly experience, a paranormal experience, who am I to tell you that it's true or not? If you believe it to be true, then own it. That's fine. But what sucks is for the people that want that closure of this is truth, we'll probably never officially find out. We probably shouldn't, but the reason why we won't officially ever find out if ghosts are real are for because of all these people that fake shit nonstop. They make a career out of it. People lie about it for attention. You start going back with the Amityville horror stuff and like that. You start doing research and you find out that the people that sold the rights to their names to be associated with that, they were in debt and they had people come in and say, let's write this story and then we can make some money off of it. You start going through a lot of that stuff and you see the shadiness that comes alongside it, and it fucks with people that really are wanting those moments of closure, especially like my dad passing away. My mom, uh she still holds on to the idea that maybe he's watching over us. Maybe he is. You don't want to take that away from somebody, but when people do fake shit, it tarnishes all that. And it's there's more harm in that. And I know they're just trying to make a quick buck. They're trying to get some clicks, but it fucks everybody over. But ultimately, um, if you believe in ghosts, I don't judge you. I've had a lot of experiences, but I'm still one of those guys that still is hesitant towards it. And I still have a problem with accepting, is it really happening or not? And I try to go through these moments of like that voice that I when I heard my wife's voice, then I'm like thinking, is that just me? Maybe I thought it. Maybe I just had some weird mental thing that happened and I thought I heard that. It's possible. There's a lot of unexplained things in our world. And just because they're there doesn't mean that we need to understand them. If as long as they're not hurting you, I don't see what the big deal is. But I'll tell you this real quick. The moment I left this out when I originally told the story, but I just remembered I did it, and it could be some good advice for you. If you're experiencing something like this that is potentially negative in your home, and it's causing negative energy to spill through, especially if you have children. What I did when I heard my wife's voice and then I investigated and realized she wasn't home, I sat on those steps and I did the same thing when my dog was growling out there. I had a heart to heart with whatever the fuck was over there. I envisioned in my mind that I was surrounded by white protective light of peace and strength. And I told it to get out of the house. This is my house. You're not welcome here. Don't know if you're passing through or if you've been here for a while. Either way, you're not welcome. So get out. And then I am envision in my mind that the whole house is filled with that white light, room to room, in the closets, the corners, everywhere, basement, everywhere, top to bottom. This is my house, not it. So just something. If you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do, you're strong. If you feel like that you're running into something like that, that could help you out. Or it could bite you in the ass. I don't know. Don't know. If you see a ghost dick, let me know. Duff Uncensored. All right. Yeah, I know it was kind of serious at the end, but you know what? I think that stuff's interesting. If you want to pass along some stories, please do so, and we can always circle back and do some more of these. Sprinkle them in. I think those are interesting. Interesting. If you want to reach out to me, dehuffpodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on socials at DeHuff Podcast. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. A little different show. Yes, it's Halloween. That's fine. Be safe tonight if you're out and about. Eat that sugar. Eat that candy, baby. And we'll be back to normal headlines starting next week. Big thanks to Owl Pipe ID. Go check them out at owlpipeid.com, as well as Bet Online. Go to betonline.ag. You guys are fantastic. Have a wonderful day. It's the Huff Uncensored. Let's continue to move forward. I'll talk to you next time.